Good afternoon and welcome one and all. I just had to check the time that it was afternoon. It gives me my name is Daniel Cairns. I'm your host today and I'm the head of enrolments here at Fourth Rev. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to today's webinar on how portfolio-based learning and certifications can transform your career in data science. Thrilled to have you here, and with high demand for data science skills and a significant skills gap in the market, our discussion will explore how a portfolio-based approach like in Cambridge's Data Science Career Accelerator can give you an edge in a very competitive landscape as well. Just some housekeeping as well. Good on you first and foremost, and it's great to see so many of you put it in the chat where you're from. Please continue to do so. We will use the chat function shortly for some assets that we'll post in there for link outs and the like. But good on you for making the time to attend first and foremost. So I also implore you to engage as much as possible with our great panel today. And you can do that certainly through lodging your question in the Q&A function, not so much the chat function. I'll remind us a few times throughout today's event of what to do and how to do that. But during today's session, we're going to explore a number of topics. I guess we'll have an overview of the current data science industry and the career potential. We'll look at how real-world projects and portfolio development proves your technical skills and serve as a competitive advantage in hiring. And lastly, how a credible industry relevant certificate can strengthen your resume and boost your employability, which is the main outcome as well, obviously. Just a quick overview and a framework surrounding that. Data science is one of the fastest growing fields, as we know. Companies across industries like technology, finance, healthcare are all actively seeking data professionals who can harness data insights to drive decision making. They are looking for that industry link. So 10x more job growth than national average across all occupations, 36% growth increase in data roles by 2033, and a 51K per year average data scientist salary in the UK. It's one of the fastest growing fields, but how can you stand out? And that's what we're going to certainly assist you today. Firstly, with a poll, which industry, we'd love to know, are you most interested in working with data science skills? You'll see a range of options from technology, finance, healthcare, HR, manufacturing, or other. And if it's other and you want to be more specific, feel free to pop it in the chat. So let's add value to your time today. And we're going to do so by welcoming two thorough professionals and industry leaders in this regard. It gives me great pleasure to welcome to today's webinar, Dr. Russell Hunter and Diwakar as well. Gentlemen, thank you ever so kindly for your time today. Welcome.
Hey, everyone.
Welcome, Russell. Just a quick intro from yourself would be ideal for the audience.
Hi, so I'm Russell. I've been a researcher at Cambridge for a long time. As I say, a PhD, as you can see here, in computational neuroscience. So I've had something to do with machine learning for a long time, but I spend pretty much all my time now in industry, working quite a lot on machine learning and data science projects as well.
Brilliant, thank you. Looking forward to hearing more, not only regarding your industry links and your expertise, but the value that you bring to learners as well. Diwakar, welcome. Thank you also, and thank you for doing this under some duress with a bit of a sore throat. It is much appreciated. A great introduction from yourself would be appreciated.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session. I'm Diwakar. I'm one of the industry mentor for the course. I've been associated for over the last 7-8 months with the course. I'm head of data and AI at Thread, which is a B2B fintech in the UK. I've been data science and machine learning practitioner for over 15 years in the industry. And look forward to this session and answering, a lot of the questions from the learners.
Excellent. Thank you both. Looking forward to it, as I'm sure the audience is. Just a reminder for the audience, this is about you and what you're seeking in making that advancement within your existing career, or certainly transitioning into a data science related role. So please do type your any questions that you have in the Q&A function, and we'll use the chat for some other resources that will be most helpful for the audience as well. Just a little bit from me before I've got some questions as well. So despite high demand, employers face challenges in filling data science roles due to skills gaps. If you look at the screen, there's 82% of companies need machine learning expertise, with only about 12% satisfied with the talent pool available. Skills in most demand yet challenging to recruit for are the data cleaning and reprocessing, advanced technical skills like machine learning and NLP, communication and storytelling skills are critical. Employers want not just the technical, they want the business application of the technical, and the gentleman will also give us an overview of that industry link as well. Furthermore, the data on skills gap surrounding lack of machine learning and NLP, data cleaning and inefficiencies, the importance of integrating technical skills with business applications are critical. To start with the panel though, I guess, what do industry, especially in your respective areas, what are the biggest challenges you face in finding qualified data scientists? I might start with Russell first.
It's a really difficult question in some regards. I mean, it depends, especially what we're looking for at the time. I mean, we go through a certain structured process when trying to find some, especially depending what we're needing. So at the moment, natural language processing was something that we're looking at. And I think it's just trying to find a good depth of expertise in that field, especially. Although, if you don't mind me saying, it does sound like a plug for the course in general, that many of the things that we go through, especially in course 3, you know, if any of those people had come along for a job, they would have been able to do this task fairly quickly. But, you know, the field is moving fairly fast, but we look at fundamentals essentially, but we also give a little bit of exploration. It sounds like a vague point, but you know, for example, we might give a task that says we want you to build a classifier, and we give them give the candidates free options to look for, and look for different models, and then we try to drill down on what their why they've chosen this, how they're going to benchmark it, and all those sort of technical details that come with that. You know, and then some depth of expertise as well. I mean, especially the larger parts, such as the ML ops, and being able to deploy. So lots of different skills along those lines too.
Excellent. That's interesting. And Diwakar, also, I guess, in a fintech startup, or is it still a startup, or is it a scale-up now?
It's a scale-up now. Yeah.
Yeah. What are the skills that you often find difficult to recruit for, or find challenging when recruiting?
Yeah. So I think some of the problems in fintech are very similar to any other industry, I would say, or data science recruitment. And the common challenge is obviously finding those data scientists who are not limited to just one business area, right? You know, have flavor of different problems in data science, right? So it's not just the number of years of experience. It's not just to demotivate, you know, the beginners in this industry to say, oh, you have to have a 5 years experience. It's to say, like, do you have at least a view of the challenges across different business problems, right? What are the challenges in terms of unsupervised versus supervised machine learning, right? Do you understand that? Because I think there are a lot of courses out there which cover very good theoretical part of the subject, right? But what they do not cover, that when you tackle a new data science problem, right, you have to think from SME perspective, one, and then you also have to think of from a data science practitioner perspective on how to handle the exceptions, right? Because, you know, the real life problems are not as theoretical as as people build the experience learning these courses. So that's the challenge, right? Finding the SME expertise across business areas, as well as how you can add value by understanding variety of problems in data science, right? So those two are key for us, and typical challenge that we find to hire.
That's interesting, and that's where I guess transferable skills become so valued with people seeking a career change, even if from somewhat of a non-technical background, but certainly some technical experience, obviously. But employers are highly regarding those transferable skills from other fields to be SMEs in particular areas, and look at that whole of life approach to data, potentially with a customer lens sometimes, or an internal communication lens, technical terms to non-technical people, and all the things that go with those soft skills that employers are certainly speaking of as well. We'd love to know from the audience also, through another poll. We're going to ask you a couple tonight or today. Which skill are you most interested in strengthening? Is it Python? Is it machine learning, data cleaning, NLP, business applications and soft skills, I guess, and AI as well? Moving on to the next slide. One of the things that enables demonstration of value to a prospective employer as well is that portfolio-based learning, why it matters in today's job market. Today, having a portfolio is a major differentiator for data scientists. Portfolio-based learning enables you to showcase real-world projects that reflect your competencies and problem-solving abilities. This approach not only solidifies your knowledge, it also enhances your job prospects by mirroring the job environment you'll soon enter. And that enables personalisation also to a particular organisation, industry, or even role that you're applying for. During, obviously, the Career Accelerator, you'll work on 20 industry-relevant mini and major projects set by companies such as Pure Gym, Study Group, Nielsen Book Data and others, coupled with a 6-week final employer-based project with the likes of Bank of England. You'll walk away with an impressive portfolio. Therefore, there's no exams in the program. Instead, it is what I deem as productive education, productive in the fact that you build a portfolio of evidence along the way. So 20 projects, 6-week live employer project, enabling you to apply the skills, and I'll touch on this a bit further later, apply the skills learnt in the first 4 courses to a real live employer-facing project as well. The employer project is a centerpiece, really, of how and what makes the Career Accelerator so unique. Not only was the program designed with industry experts and in collaboration with the experts at Cambridge as well, but it also features an employer project at the end, as I've said, enabling the real application or application of learning in the real world. So it's to frame that quickly for you, a learner yourself, along with 5 or 6 other high caliber learners, will be grouped together in a team, and you'll meet with one of our employer partners, such as the Bank of England, or as we scale it up, there'll be others as well in different fields. They'll present to you a real data-related challenge and scenario, and as a team, applying your learning, you'll come up with innovative and tangible solutions to that scenario, presenting your recommendations back to the employer in a consultancy-style presentation at the end. The benefit of that is numerous. Firstly, as I've said, it's a practical application of learning. It's brilliant for networking with each other more deeply, and there's some amazing learners, as you've seen, from the variety of geo locations that everyone's based in. It's also a great opportunity to network with industry professionals who potentially could be looking to recruit talent from the program. And lastly, it is a much more powerful demonstration of your value to an employer to demonstrate how you have applied learning in the real world, as opposed to, say, reciting an exam result. I'm going to go to the next slide and just get give you a bit of a deeper snippet into what one of the employer projects may look like with one of our industry partners.
The project that we chose to partner with for Forever On looks at the Bank of England's communications across many, if not all, actually, of the bank's functions. It's not just the decisions that we make on our policies, monetary policy setting, interest rate, financial stability policies, affecting the system as a whole, or decisions on individual firms in supervision that matter. Is actually also how we communicate those decisions, and that can have a real impact in its own right on the economy and financial system. It's a complex area, and the content of our communications, of course, also reflect the latest developments in the economy and in financial markets, as well as having their own distinct influence on what happens next. And of course, recent advances in AI, including large language models, and continued growth in the number of high-frequency data sets that one can use, social media, for example, to get a window on the impact of communications, is greatly expanding what's possible in terms of understanding that channel of the bank's work. We hope that this project can give students practical, hands-on experience of working with a large different data sets across the full life cycle, sourcing and preparing different types of data, both numeric and textual information, bringing them together, using a range of tooling to draw insights from the data sets, and a range of techniques to visualize those results so they have real impact. It's a really important area, as I said, understanding the influence of our own communications on markets and the economy more broadly. There's a lot of different dimensions that can be explored in this space. And we really look forward to seeing how people approach it and learning from the work.
But I'd love to come to the panel now. And just a reminder, this is about the audience and your questions. I can see some fantastic questions in the Q&A as well. Let's keep them coming. To start off with, though, let's dive into the value of practical experience and how portfolio-based learning can make an impact. I guess first, Russell, please share your perspective on why real-world projects are essential in preparing data scientists for roles in industry.
Well, I actually think in pretty much any walk of anything to do with technical software building, but especially in data science, I think real-world projects are absolutely essential. One, because you're usually trying to solve a very complex problem. So when you're in a course, you're given some, well, historically speaking, I could be incorrect in saying this, but you're usually giving a very small data set, or a data set that's well characterized for a particular type of thing you're trying to learn. But with a real world project, there's a lot of complexity in there. And any problem to be solved really is a breakdown of, I guess you could say book learning of such, non-strategic processes and strategic processes. And a lot of the times we spend all of our approaches on, or all of our time on non-strategic processes, whereas the strategic part is what the most important thing is, really. And that's how to solve this very complex problem and how to use those non-strategic components together and get a real depth of understanding to solve what is often a very novel problem. And in fact, in the last video, they were describing what is a novel problem that the students were allowed to solve, and it was fantastic and bleeding edge in many respects. And I think in general, trying to solve those types of real world problems, have them in some sort of GitHub repository, some sort of portfolio, will really get you far in this field.
Excellent, completely. And it's been amazing to see that first project delivery and the feedback received. Diwakar, also, if you've got your perspective on why that real world application of learning or projects are essential.
Yeah, so I think what has happened I'll take a slightly different approach to that, right? So what has happened in the last 10 years, data science has exploded, right? In terms of requirement as well as practitioners in the industry, right? So 10 years ago, a lot of people were focusing on POCs, 10, 15 years ago, right? POCs and MVPs, let's touch the surface and build something quickly, right? Over the years, the industry has evolved. And what is being demanded right now, right? A lot of practitioners the learners have focused on building the models, the coding side of things, and building the model, which is great, which is the absolute building block for becoming a data science practitioner. But the way I see, to have the full impact of data science on the business, the other two or three things which are absolutely critical as well, along with your data science, modeling as well as programming language. One is data, right? So when you do all these data science projects, real life projects in this program, or even some of the case studies we discuss about, you get a flavor of the data. right? You get the flavor of what it looks like, what is good about, what is not so good about, right? And that's, which is very essential for any data science practitioner role you go for, right, in the industry. And that's what even recruiters will assess, right? How well you understand the different challenges with the data. The second aspect is when you build the model, thinking about what is the output look like, how is that going to be used, right? So you're not just a data science modeler who's model and go away. You have to think about how does it create value for the business? What is the metric that you're assessing? What are you building it for? And third is something I alluded to before as well, is around subject matter, right? Every business has a different issue that you're trying to tackle, and building a flavor of that business area is critical. So apart from data science modeling and technical skills, these are the three skills I would usually, would like to take away from this program or any such program.
Fantastic. And I guess, how do you go about evaluating one's portfolio in that hiring process? Russell, have you got a thought on that?
I guess there's different ways to look at that. I mean, I tend to think of the last phase of our interviewing process, the depth of expertise. But yeah, I mean, essentially kind of what's been said already. Understanding the data is primary. I think I must say that about, I don't know, at least every week, several times a week, about understanding the data. And when you look at someone's portfolio and what they, it could be like a collab notebook that they've put up, or you ask them about a particularly difficult problem that they're trying to solve, and you try to break down that process, you can really get in deep to understand their knowledge by trying to break apart their thought process and understand the problem they're trying to solve, how they got from A to B and all the little parts in between. And I do feel that when we break down that depth of expertise, it can also take funny turns during that process, depending on the answers that they give us, because there could be something very interesting in there, rather than logically, ask them to present a problem and then drill down into those particular areas. So that's mainly, that's what I would be doing during that type of hiring process in that particular case when I'm looking at their portfolio. Because, in the first few phases where they've had to do a task, for example, and then we bring them in to talk about that task, and we might get them to do some live changes. And then lastly, we might, which is usually pretty scary, but if it makes you feel better, I remember going to Cambridge 10 years ago and having to code on the whiteboard. I mean, it was pretty scary. But yeah, well, a guy that worked for Google, geez, it was scary stuff. But yeah, this last part, in terms of the depth of expertise, it can take any different turn, and we can look at different things, and it really comes down to the understanding and the answers that they give. But having a good understanding of that process and all the deep little things that have been done throughout by the candidate, yeah, that's kind of how I would assess it. It really is feeling like a live or an alive type situation, a malleable one.
It's important, I guess, to house that in a format and present it in a way that is clear in that journey that you just described. I think we use GitHub for that, obviously, where they deposit portfolio artifacts and so forth to ensure that it's accessible and presentable and all those types of things. Diwakar, anything else in relation to what you look for or how you assess?
I think I would stick with probably the three messages or principles I mentioned about, right, earlier. I can't agree with what Russell just mentioned. Can't agree more with what he just said. So the only thing I would like to add is if I look at the candidate's portfolio, it's not the number, right? You putting 10 projects or 15 projects or 20 projects is not the key, right? What we need to key is to highlight, as I said, variety.
Yep.
Do you have a flavor of what are the different? Because why do you need a variety, right? Is you're going to work with the SMEs, right? You're going to work with the product managers and marketing teams to draft, to actually design a data science, to understand a data science issue and design a solution, right? And in order to build a solution, you have to have understood like different areas. So that's the first thing I assess, and a variety of problems you've tackled in your portfolio, and you understand these areas. And so that's the, something key. And apart from that, as I mentioned earlier, like these three things are essential for me. Do you understand the challenges? So when we go to the interview process as well, I try to understand, do you understand the challenges with the data? Do you understand how you applied the models and how these were impactful, how you could have improved? And essentially, do you understand, how data science, or do you have the SME expertise in the particular area to embed data science solutions? So same three things I said in the first question as well. And apart from that is the variety aspect I just mentioned.
Exactly. Last one, and we'll get to some questions pretty quickly from the audience as well, as there's some great ones coming through. And I'll start this question with a quote. And I've mentioned this in webinars previously. It was from a very esteemed Australian. She was Australia's first female Prime Minister, actually, that said this to me some years ago now, but it's resonated, and even more so today, when she said that the pace of change has never been this fast, yet it will never be this slow again. So with that, and obviously with the acceleration in AI and machine learning evolving rapidly, how important is continuous learning in data science, and how can certificates keep professionals up to date? Who wants to go first?
Well,
yeah,
sorry. Oh,
that's
I'll let you
fine.
go first.
Yeah, I can go first. How important is continuous learning in data science? So that's the thing, right? As I mentioned earlier, that 10 years ago, it was very generalist approach, right? Now it has diverged in multiple directions, right? So there are generalists in the industry, and then there are specialists, right? Russell takes NLP course, is an industry mentor for NLP course, and NLP is one area where again, it's become a niche. So then there's a computer vision, and then there are other areas. So now it's not just about very generalized data science. It's more about they are generalist data scientists, and then they are like very niche data scientists, I would call them. And even if you're generalist or niche in each of the field, right? Because the thing it's is actively evolving as well. So you need to decide first of all which area is more suitable to you, right? You can't sail on the both boats and become computer vision practitioner and as well as trying to be very good journalist as well, because the industry is much mature now as it was compared to it was 10 years ago. So one is making that decision where you want, where does your skill set lie and where you want to really grow your skill set. But either of the, whatever decision you make, you still have to keep abreast of yourself or all the developments, because it's rapidly evolving within your area though, right? So if you're a generalist data science practitioner, try to understand what's coming up new. And there are a lot of resources out there to help you that, right? But that said, end of the day, it's again, in the rapidly evolving industry, the key will still be that how you can solve the problem for the business, right? So one is it's the last message I would like to leave this with. There are two ways the industry is evolving. One is it's not just always about new data science algorithms, right? Coming every day. It's also about a lot of automation which is happening in data science, right? So there are auto ML platforms. There is ML ops side of things which are getting automated as well. So you have to look at both sides, right? You have to develop with the modeling side of things, or machine learning side of things, but you also understand the ML ops and other automation side of things as well, because that's where you will be able to add a higher impact to whatever business case you work on.
Yes, it enables more value for the employer in the areas where data science can have the impact through your demonstration of as well. Good on, that's excellent. And Russell, before I move on.
Yeah, I mean, all of that is a perfect answer, really. One thing that I've noticed over time, and it might not be true across the board, but I certainly, based on lots of people that I know, I would say that it certainly is, that getting real talent, data science talent, is difficult and also expensive. And there are lots of people in different types of jobs inside a company that perhaps didn't have data science skills before, and they have elected to go and do courses which are, these sort of industry certificate types of courses. And they gain these skills very quickly. And what it does is allow them to enhance their capabilities. So, a product owner, for example, is a proxy role, like like a project manager, like a business analyst, or something along those lines. These used to be what we call subject matter experts, and you used to ask them what they would do to make us sell more of our things. And then over time, we've obviously realized that data is much more important, and on average across the board. Not that I'm saying always, and let's not get into absolutes. Those have been kind of moved out of the way for people who are much more data articulate. So, people who are good at being able to understand not just plots, but also do some basic statistics and come up with some nice ideas, know about, and especially with the growth of AI, which has really opened it up to these people are not particularly data scientists every day, but use their data science skills now within that particular area. So I think there is a sort of broad look as well, outside of simply either being, a data analyst, a data scientist. You could become someone who's very data literate and very useful to your company, with these types of certificates and things as well. Really enhance your skills that you've already got.
Exactly, brilliant, and thank you. And bringing that together, I guess, and answering some of the first questions that have been most upvoted on the next slide. Industry-aligned certifications offer validation of your skills, especially when they come from a respected and globally renowned institute like Cambridge. And research shows that also certifications can significantly enhance your career prospects as they signal to employers that you've got relevant, verified expertise. The benefits include that skill validation, especially when it comes to the inclusion of AI and newer skills in that set to set you apart. Giving you the edge in the job market, higher earning potential, and a pathway to job-ready skills. It's most important. So bringing that together with the portfolio aspect is exactly what employers are seeking as well, when you can demonstrate both. So let's get to, before I move on to the Career Accelerator, I'm going to answer or get the panel to answer a few questions, and I will also regarding exactly this. So Bhavna's asked, and thank you for everyone's contribution. Keep it coming. We're going to get to as many as we can, and if we need to, I'm happy to go past the hour to speak course specifically or application process specifically and all those sorts of things. And we do have a very exciting offer for those in attendance as well. But how is this course different to a platform like DataCamp, where you can also build a portfolio based on industry level data and get certified for significant lower cost? I've got many things to add, and I think we've already outlined some of them. But Diwakar or Russell, have you got some thoughts on how this differentiates vastly from that?
I mean, from my perspective, I've never used DataCamp directly. They have contacted me before, but that's a different story. That was a while ago. But I've used other ones too. And I would say, and I know that we're on a call and I do get paid, and people won't believe me until they know me, but this is definitely the most comprehensive I've ever seen in terms of the speed in which you work through things that are very in-depth, and the employer projects, or the employer project, the companies that you're working with, the data that you're working with is real data. I know that there's real data sets, but it's real data given with real problems that are coming from the companies. And I think that there's definitely a lot to be made out of that in comparison to, say, other courses that I've done. I mean, I've used other platforms. I'm allowed to mention them. Is it like the BBC? They have to ask. I'm allowed to mention other ones.
We can open discussion.
I've used Udacity before because I just really like their courses. I just think they're quite good fun. One about sensor fusion and self-driving cars. I thought it'd be good fun just to do some coding. And it was fantastic. I'm not going to say that these other places aren't fantastic, but I would certainly say that the depth of what you're learning is very different. Very different in terms of getting this type of job. It was useful for me. I have a PhD in computational neuroscience, a good background in that field. I could feel quite happy going there and studying those types of problems. But if you want to learn solid foundations to get a real chance, and I said to the people that that I speak to every day in this course, at the end, I would have hired just about any one of the people that had put their projects in at the end of this course.
That's amazing. And similar during that Bank of England employee presentation process was the feedback we got. Duaka as well. I can see you come off mute to contribute to that specific question.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a very valid question, right? I think it's a very good and relevant question as well. So really appreciate somebody being bold enough to ask that question. So the way I see that is in two ways, right? Apart from I'm assuming, like, let's not worry about the content, right? I'm ignoring that part. Okay, and we are biased as well, right? Because we are part of the part of the course here. So the course content obviously is great, right, for anybody to learn, but I'm not even going there. I'm specifically trying to address in two ways this question of this versus something else, right? First, I feel the curated list of projects, which Steny has already mentioned about, right? The 12 projects, not just a number. Again, alluding to the same thing, it's a curated projects and the level of depth you're going through is very valuable, right? So that's my first comment on that. And the second one is you have industry mentors here, like you have likes of Russell, myself, and some few other people as well, who share or who always love to share the case studies, the real life case studies as well, and not just the projects that you're doing, right? You're trying to bring to life the actual experience without not always focusing on the theory side of things, right? And to me, that's like that sets it apart as well, right? And it's up to you how much detail you want to go to, right? So we'll just introduce a case study that, within a limited span of time to give you the flavor of what's happening in the industry. But in this program, I think there is a significant opportunities for the learners to actually probe further in these areas, whether you want to reach out to the tutor, you want to reach out to the industry mentor and go to the next level of depth, right? That opportunity is there. Right, probably not highlighted in this presentation, but I just want to call that out as well. That it's up to the learners as well to spend that valuable time with the tutors and the industry mentors as well, if you would like to. And that's a significant opportunity.
Exactly, and you've answered it brilliantly, gentlemen. And I guess, Bhavna, in relation to your specific question and Daniel's question as well, who said, is there not a risk that with the course that without work experience, it will be viewed by many employers who aren't aware of its provenance, that it's just another boot camp? Combining the practical portfolio with the Cambridge certification, but more deeply than that, there is a quadrant of learning embedded within the program. It's not only the technical skills that you learn in depth, of course, but it's the business application of the technical that you are then able to demonstrate to employers. There's also focus on your own personal growth and the soft skills that employers are seeking, and your employability. So all throughout the program, there is an executive style career coach guiding you through how to showcase your both new skills and, most importantly, your transferable skills. They do that through one-on-one career coaching sessions once a month. And always the resounding feedback we get, having run the Career Accelerators as a model now for 4 years, this one's new in 2024, is that aside from the relevance of the content, the next biggest benefit is that career coaching aspect that people often aren't aware of, framing that for your benefit and the return on investment that you deserve. So great questions. Also, lastly on that, you might be competing with thousands upon thousands of people who have done a data camp course or similar, or a free course or a less expensive one. Not many. We cap our numbers to ensure the learning outcomes and the learning experience is what you would expect as well. Right. Next question, and we'll get on to a couple more, and then I've got an overview of the actual Career Accelerator for everyone. So I'm sure all participants will be able to complete the course. Will the companies be interested in hiring professionals that go through this course? Yes, in what we've just answered. So Rodrigo, thank you for that question. I'm going to touch on obtaining additional skills to enhance your answer to the question surrounding what experience do you have in a moment as well. I might do that now, actually, because Daniel's asked here, is there not a risk with the course that without work experience, it will be viewed by many employers as a boot camp. So firstly, to demonstrate your practical portfolio is one thing. To work on a real project with one of our esteemed employer partners, such as Bank of England, enables you to say, yes, I do have experience first and foremost, but I recommend people go a step further. Many people are working full-time during the course. It is intensive, don't get me wrong. It's taking you from some experience or some relevant experience to data scientist in 7 months. Therefore, it's around, we recommend 20 hours a week as an average. There is a blend of synchronous and asynchronous learning, meaning there are live sessions, both with the gentleman we have in our company today on a fortnightly basis, but also then the Cambridge academics hosting live dropping Q&As weekly as well. The rest is asynchronous, meaning that you can choose how and when study fits in with your life. Now, what I'm about to say about additional experience can be challenging, but sometimes it's about doing that much more than your competitor for your dream role. And what I recommend, once you've obtained the skills and you're going down the path of developing the competence, or if you're a current data scientist and there's a question relating to this and you're looking to elevate and refresh your skills, it's also wise to complement it with some demonstrated experience in addition. And what that might look like is if you've got children and they are at a sporting club that may have an app or something similar, that may have a research piece that can be done surrounding data science and how that can improve sales and marketing or enrollments within the sporting club. It could be a local charity where using data may enable them to look at ways in which they could spread out their donations per year as opposed to having a seasonal jump, whatever. It can be anything, but as long as you've got an opportunity to go somewhere or to someone and say, I'm doing this data science course and I would love the opportunity of applying my learning to something with meaning. If you can do that and demonstrate that then to an employer for the roles that you will be seeking, you'll be that far ahead with the skills that this provides and the certification from Cambridge, obviously, that far ahead of any other candidate, I would guarantee it. It's not something all the career coaches go over, but it's something that in my own experience, I've seen on resumes and I've used in my past as well, and it works amazingly well. Next question is, are the lecturers of this course the same lecturers that teach undergrad and postgrad courses at the University of Cambridge? Sam, if you can drop the brochure link into the chat, there is a full list of the Cambridge academics. Yes, they do teach in other areas of the university, but are passionate about, and there's a webinar that I hosted earlier this year with the Cambridge academics that's available on our YouTube channel. But yes, they do teach this and others, and obviously the gentlemen are working in industry as well as supporting learners through the program as well. Got to that question. Next one. How can I demonstrate subject matter expertise in an industry that interests me when I haven't worked in that industry? Avram, I guess I've touched on that question just there with that advice, and if there's anything else from the gentleman, I'm more than happy to hear it. And I'm going to come back to the audience questions. Please keep them coming and keep upvoting the ones that you want me to answer next, as I'll get to them with the priority. There's heaps of questions to get through, but I'm just going to, as I'm conscious of time, for the audience benefit, give a quick overview of the actual program and the learning outcomes there as well. So, as I mentioned, it's 7 months in length. It is designed to fit in with you more so than you fit in with university, in that the asynchronous component means you choose how and when study fits in with your life. If we can jump to the next slide, Sam. Course 1, so it's made up of 4 courses and that live employer-facing project. Course 1, applying statistics and core data science techniques in business. You can see even in the course titles, the business application of the technical, because when we went through the design process with industry experts and Cambridge, that was the resounding outcome to the feedback that we received, that it's also not just the technical, it's the business value of the technical that is so important. So course 2, so that runs for 6 weeks with a week's break in between course 1 and 2, solving business problems with supervised learning, before a longer course 3, which is a 10-week course with a week's break in the middle, applying advanced data science techniques with Russell. Lastly, as I mentioned earlier, you round that off with the employer-facing project at the end. As it says down the bottom there, we do have an early enrolment offer. Numbers of enrolments sold out last presentation. We've enrolled 3 presentations so far this year, with the first one now having completed their employer project only in the last week or so. The next one starts on the 3rd of February, and numbers will be capped. The reason the numbers are capped, as I said earlier, is because we want to preserve, firstly, we have capacity constraints with our coaches, with the Cambridge academics and our industry experts, but more so, if we opened it up for 200 or 300 learners globally, which I'm sure we could, it would mean that, especially in the employer project, your learning outcome, your learning experience would be diluted, because it may mean that we need 20 or 30 learners on a project team, and your roles and responsibilities within that team would therefore be diluted to the point of less value. So therefore, we're encouraging people to consider their 2025 study options and commit early to that. Have a break over Christmas, knowing that you've got a very busy 7 months ahead in 2025 for the betterment of your career. For those that do enroll by the 16th of December, you do get additional career support to achieve your long-term goals, and that includes a goal-setting workshop prior to the course commencing, early access to alumni network across all of our career accelerators. You'll mix with people that have completed the program, that have completed product management career accelerators or our analytics career accelerators, and that continued coaching beyond graduation. So if it is a case of you needing additional coaching sessions, that can be provided for an additional 6 months after the course completed, ensuring you get that career outcome that you're seeking in those one-on-one career coaching sessions for 6 months post completion as well. Got a couple of questions for the panel, and then we'll get back to some audience questions as well, because we've got a flavour also throughout the audience of those wanting to transition, but there are some advances as well. But what advice do you give those transitioning into data science from not technical, maybe not the right way, but somewhat related technical or semi-technical roles especially?
I can pick it up.
Go for it.
So the way I see people progressing, right, generally, right, picking up in the data science from a non-related field. So I see three different career paths, right? So one is the easiest one, which I think everybody's asking about, is directly jumping into data science field, changing the company, moving to another company in a data science role as a data science practitioner, right? That's one straightforward route, which I'm sure a lot of you are contemplating. But I think we are completely forgetting about other 2-3 different avenues for growth, right? This is the long-term growth as well. And this is not just, data science is not just going to be a role, I would say, it's going to be a skill set across different functions, right? As we're seeing how AI is evolving, and role of machine learning and data science in it, it's going to be pervasive across different departments, right? So let's not forget that, because the other 2 routes or transitions, I would say, one is that within your organization, right, moving to a different department, or within your role. I see people in the product department, right, starting to work with data and data science team actively to pick up on some of the data science use cases, right? There could be tons of occasions you are in product team, marketing team, ops team, you have a data science use case, you are connecting with, you're not yourself. I mean, your team is connecting with data science team. They don't have a capacity. Now, if you have these skills, why don't you pick up that use case and start building on this? You say that, you have all the skills required, and that's a fantastic opportunity to get transition in this kind of role, right? So let's not forget that aspect as well. And the third is like, is this as a long-term capability as well. You moving on to this role or other organization, not just for data science, but for some example, data team or the marketing team, and then leveraging data science, right? It's not just focused. Let's not just focus on very short-term view. Oh, how can I do this? And suddenly jump into a data science role in my next and have like 5x, increase in my compensation, FI, whatever thinking you have. So I think that's a very short-term view. I would leave the people to think about the multiple avenues of transition as a capability you are developing for the long term and not just the short term. It's going to help you in the short term, definitely, but have a long-term view, because then when you have a long-term view, you take away the right things. You just don't take away the models, as I said earlier. You take away a lot of other learnings from the course, maybe the networking, maybe the other learnings you've had from executing these projects.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It's a bit like jumping from nursing to surgery without doctoring in between. I often give the analogy. Just a reminder for the audience, though, there is the entry criteria for the program is that it is aimed at postgraduate level. So you do need, it is a requirement to have an undergraduate degree with a quantitative unit of study involved in that. If you don't, but you do have a lot of industry experience, that can be overcome. The best thing to do is speak with your enrolment advisor. In addition to the quantitative unit of study at undergrad or postgrad level, is the requirement of having at least 1 year of data related or aligned experience. That doesn't need to be in a science role or even an analyst role. It could be a salesperson that's used data all there throughout the last 12 months to look at their forecasts and budgets, and that use of data within a role for 12 months. It is a requirement of the program. Russell, anything on making the transition, or do you want me to move on to the next one?
No, I think the answer was very comprehensive. The next one's fine.
Yeah, I agree. We've gone over the technical mostly, but also what are the soft skills essential for those advancing from mid-level? Can you go back, Sam, just to that last question? Advancing from a mid-level data role into that data leadership role.
This is an interesting question. I've got a funny feeling that nobody's ever said that my soft skills are up there. Shouting lots. No, I'm only kidding. No, from a technical perspective, I know we've kind of covered that, but I think that there is something to be, if you want to move into a leadership position, I think certainly obviously you've got to have experience, broad experience, but you've also got to have the ability to think big. That's what I always see when trying to move, certainly up the way. It's that big picture thinking, that strategic thinking. And for our people very high up in the organization, I mean, they often tell me to, I mean, I have a problem that I like to get very technical all the time, and that's not great for if you want to move in a particular leadership position. So being able to articulate without getting very, very technical, I think is a real skill and a real art, because I tend to really enjoy the technical parts. In fact, I could do it all day here today. But certainly I would say that, but I think it comes from a wider, a broader perspective. The sort of management, the management skills are all very similar to that, but certainly being able to think big, articulate and think long term about projects and where to put the best people in the right place at the right time. I mean, that might be me thinking about it in the wrong way at this point, but certainly that's the way I would think about it. It's certainly getting your hands on some huge projects or bigger projects and being able to think more broadly, perhaps at organization level. That seems to be something that, it's certainly something I'm chasing just now, but as I say, I like to get very technical about such things.
Yeah, that's interesting. A couple of ones that we want to, and I'm conscious of time, and I'm happy to hang around to answer people's course specific questions. Just a reminder, there is in the chat a link to register for our next webinar, which will feature a learner from the program speaking of their actual experience in the Career Accelerator. But there's 2 specific questions. It was remiss of me not to mention also that there is a basic level of Python experience required for entry as well that we can help overcome if you don't have Python. And we've actually used data camp courses for people looking to develop the skills to actually meet the criteria to get into this program before. So there's a big difference between the 2. But can I share, Parush has asked here, can you share specific statistics on the success rate of previous participants in securing jobs after completion of the course? Parush, we have been running the Career Accelerator model with our university partners in our other university partners for 4 years. And it's an 87.5% success rate of those that have nominated their intended career outcome. Some learners aren't seeking a career outcome, they're seeking update of new skills in their current roles, of course, within 6 months of them completing. The first group have only just completed this program, so they're entering now the workforce. I know we've had a number of learners obtain career outcomes during the program thus far, and in January we'll also hear from one of them. But so we don't have a whole range of statistics because the first learners have literally completed their employer project in the last week or fortnight and are now applying for those roles post completion of the program. So we're delighted that there's already career outcomes from the first group that commenced in March and just finished now. And we look forward to sharing them broadly once we've got those up and running, or we've got those in hand as well. Jesus has asked, what is the level of hard skills like Python required to ensure good progression? There's a level required, I'd say it's between, you don't need to be intermediate or advanced for Python, but the reason we have the basic Python skills required for entry is that we would like to enable your return on investment, i.e. your learning of data science from day one rather than learning Python from day one. The best thing to do again is book a time with your enrollment advisor. They're going to give you such good advice with empathy around your individual circumstances. They'll tell you if it's not for you or provide an alternate pathway, but they'll also work ways in overcoming challenges. And if Python is a challenge, if it's not something that you've learned before, we've got ways in which we can support you through a conditional offer, so to speak, or a secured placement that you go through the application process, secure your placement, learn Python, and then pass a technical test prior to commencing. I'm conscious of time, and there's so many questions that we haven't got to. I'm going to stick around and answer questions, but I'm most aware that your time not only is valuable, but we'll also take a moment to thank not only the audience, but the panel in a moment as well. I think the last thing that we can do is go to the last slide, Sam, whilst I do wrap things up, and as I said, stick around for those that want to ask me some more questions. I guess what you can do next is consider what 2025 looks for you first and foremost. Is it the year that you are going to make an acceleration of your career or a change of career into data science? If so, taking the first step by attending today is a brilliant thing that you've done. I always encourage also the engagement of those around you in a decision such as this to commit 7 months of intensive study around your other life priorities. If it's your partner, if it's your family, if it's your colleagues, whoever may be impacted of you having to say no sometimes. No, I can't go out for drinks on Friday night with the girls because I've got a project due on Saturday. Think about that. It is a commitment, but it is a commitment that is so good in terms of your investment in yourself, be it looking to advance or change your career. It is then taking action. So further informing yourself like you have today of what the options are available to you. Listen to the webinar next week or even attend live next week, but discuss your options, your individual options with your enrollment advisor, who, as I said earlier, is going to take the most empathetic approach to your life decision that you'll ever find in an enrollment advisor, be it Sonia or be it Otto or even sometimes myself. I'm sure there's some in the audience that have already spoken with them and have found that as well. But without that, in addition to that, Russell Duaka, thank you ever so kindly for so much of your time and your insights. I know it's such a strong demonstration for the audience to know that they've got industry professionals such as yourselves behind them, in addition to the Cambridge academics, the other industry mentors, and obviously the career coaches and support team as well. Thank you for the contributions you make to make this learning experience such a great one for the learners on the program, and for your time today.
Our pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you to Sam in the background as well. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to stick around for those that want to know how to complete a successful application, for example, or and discuss fees and things like that I haven't. It's been remiss of me not to touch on so far as well. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a great day. For those of you sticking around, the fees for the program are £8,395, everything inclusive. That includes the career coaching. That will include your early enrolment package of extended career coaching, and there are some options available to you. There is a concession for those of £500 for those of you that elect to pay up front, or we can offer interest-free payment terms over a range of periods. Always best to speak with your enrolment advisor. Our payment plans have no fees, no interest associated with them as well. Most people choose either upfront or 6-month payment plan, but there are longer ones. So if it enables your access to the program, speak to your enrolment advisor about that as well. To apply for the program, you need to upload your academic transcripts that demonstrate you've completed a quantitative unit of study. Your CV or a PDF download of your LinkedIn profile is usually fine. And then there is a personal statement. The personal statement is an important part of the application process. Firstly, it's not War and Peace that you need to draft. It's a 1-page, 3 or 4 questions. There may be a template dropped in. If not, I might be able to do it, Sam. 3 or 4 questions surrounding your motivation to study, how you fit it in with your life, your Python experience, and if you don't have Python experience, we'll go down that process that I mentioned earlier. But it is an important part of the application process because it enables the admissions team to assess your application outside of what I deem is self-evident in your previous education and professional experience, but to know you a little deeper as well. That also enables, once you're successful then, that also enables the career coaches and success managers who support you so closely throughout your learning journey to learn a bit about you before they meet with you, to develop any empathy required or understand any challenges that you may experience that they may be able to assist you in overcoming. So academic transcripts, CV, personal statement, 1-page personal statement, and proof of identity in the form of a driver's license or birth certificate. Just so you're aware also, I thought I'd just touch on, and I'll jump into the questions in a second. I'll just touch on what I think is interesting for people to know. Who are your peers? People like to know, the value, you've got an overview of the value of the content, the learning, the supports and things like that. But who are your peers? Because often there's great value in your peer network as well. So in the first 2 presentations, and we just obviously closed the oversubscribed presentation late in October. But the first 2 presentations of the year contained people from backgrounds that we put into 5 areas. Business management, there's, pardon me, there are CEOs, global head of people analytics, senior managers, vice presidents, wholesale managers, HR operations leads, and the like. And there was a good portion of them. The largest portions were data and analytics background, so analysts looking to make the transition into science, for example, data consultants, senior business analysts, ML ops consultants, and the like. The next most populous area was engineering and technology. Those with technical backgrounds, senior engineers, software engineers, systems developers, and the like. Just one second. What I also found really interesting, and this trend has continued into P3, is that we also have a number of science backgrounds or research and scientific backgrounds. So people doing their PhDs that are looking to add data science skills to their research and studies. There's senior bioinformaticians, organic scientists, and a number of lecturers. And then lastly, there's a group of consultants and advisories. So investment associates, fintech, change manager, governance leads, and the like, knowing that how much data and data science is impacting business of the future, looking to add that skill to their bow as well. So a brilliant opportunity for you to network with sometimes but sometimes unique learners from different areas and backgrounds as well. I'll just take a quick glance at some questions that are coming through, and forgive me, I haven't kept up with these as well. So transitioning, we've done that one. Oh, sorry, Avram. Should I expect to apply for entry-level jobs? No, I wouldn't think you would. However, let's discuss that because it's most challenging to move from a role that may be quite high paying into a career transition and a job that you may have to take a pay cut. Let's in some cases. However, demonstrating your transferable skills, and you've mentioned you've got years of experience and related to data and BI in your case as well. You've got a whole host of transferable skills that you will need to highlight, or will be to your benefit to highlight it as well. So I wouldn't be suggesting that you would be applying for entry-level roles at all. What I would suggest, though, also for everyone, is think about the opportunities in how many businesses now need data-related technical roles and business application of the technical that I keep going on about that haven't had one before. Or there's a difference with a large corporate that have a team of scientists where your roles and responsibilities would be quite narrow. So there are entry-level roles in startups and those businesses making the transition to a digital economy, of which there's millions across the world. And it might be the first data role that they're looking to implement at the same time you're looking to change careers. That's a great marriage, because you've got an ownership of what you are enabling the business to achieve through their new use of data in that regard. And you've got a wide spectrum of responsibilities and opportunities in that regard. That's not for everyone. A larger corporate with a team of scientists enables you to get into a role, for example, that might have a specific area of focus that you want to specialize in and grow that skill as well. So no, I wouldn't suggest with this behind you that you would be aiming at entry level. It may be that you take a lower role compared to what you are on just to make the transition, but you'd be looking to certainly combine your previous skills with your new skills to add value to a business that may be above entry level. What is the criteria to adopt this skill, having worked in other aspects of IT? Lavender, thank you for your contribution. We touched on that one earlier around the criteria there. Anonymous has asked, what is the split between lectures and projects in terms of hours per week? Good question. I'd say it's 80-20, 80 asynchronous, 20% synchronous. The synchronous sessions, you usually get a choice between a lunchtime or an evening session to make it even more accommodating of those with busy schedules. And they are recorded if you can't attend live, but always best to attend live, ensuring that you ask questions that are relevant to your stage of learning or your progress within that week's modules and things like that. The content is a really rich blend of business case scenarios, big data sets, rich media. So there's, as you click through a module, you'll hear the chief data scientist from the Bank of England speak about that particular subject, or any of our other subject matter experts that we've filmed in preparation for the content. The other thing to consider actually on that is, if you're looking at other options, which I implore everyone to do, and I'm sure you are, is always ask about the, how do I put this? When was content last updated? Because as I said earlier, the pace of change is so fast. It's important that you realise that the content that you're consuming is relevant for now. And that's hard to keep up with sometimes between academia and industry. And that's what we've managed to do, and obviously continue to refresh content. Live sessions such as the AI sessions that we host, as well as the AI content in course 4, enable that to be up to the minute relevant in this program. And because it only launched this year, it is one of the newest data science and machine learning AI programs in the world. Any other specific questions? We'll get examples of projects you've worked on in key skills. Janardan, please register for the next webinar. We'll speak to the learner about the specific projects that they've worked on. Vladislav, I wanted to get to this earlier, and apologies for not doing so. Would you consider the course be beneficial for data scientists in industry who already have professional experience and prior academic knowledge, masters in the field of data science? Would you say the learning is more in-depth compared to a master's in data science? I'd say it's shorter and sharper, but it's more industry relevant, is the best way I can put that. It's more up to date in many cases. I'm sure there's many programs with amazing technical skills. This bridges that gap between the technical and the academic and industry, and what industry require, as I've mentioned earlier. And that learning quadrant of the technical, the business application of the technical, the soft skills, and that personal growth that you do experience, as well as the employability. They are the 4 areas of the learning quadrant, as we call it. your employability being that coaching for advancement. So in your case, your career coach and the fill in the holes with the skills that you'd obtain in this will see you really, really accelerate your career. Pardon the pun, but that's part of the reason why we've obviously branded our programs at Career Accelerators, because that's exactly what they are. Jesus, we've answered that one. Yes, Victoria. Hello, Victoria. Great to see you, and good on you for committing to the program. Thank you. You've asked if there is graduation. Yes, we do have events at Cambridge as well, and you'll certainly hear more about that as we go. Do we have to not have graduation? I'm just reading that one as it says answered live. Oh, sorry, that's what I've answered there, Victoria. Matisha's asked, will all students be guaranteed to be working at Bank of England Employer Project? Great question. And because it's a fair way, we want to provide a diverse range of employer projects as we scale the program. So often there's a way in which you nominate your preference, and some people have no interest in finance related projects. So we'll certainly be offering, it may be a for purpose, it might be green energy, or it could be meditech. We're looking to diversify. So and as it's that far out, we would know of all those employer projects well ahead of time. The Bank of England have done the first three. We obviously have a great working relationship with them and would like to continue that. That would also be an opportunity for others to look at areas in which they would like to, as you said, at the poll at the start, we're going to take that information and look at amazing employer projects of the caliber of Bank of England that offer a little bit more diverse outcomes that people might be looking for. What are the main factors for skills gap? We've touched on that. I might wrap it up here. So there's a couple of things to do. Firstly, my thanking of you for so much of your time today. It's the first thing that you've done. Sorry, not the first thing you've done. It is a great step you've taken in considering what might be best for your career. And an investment in education is always a very, very wise investment in yourself. This program is designed to give you the greatest return on that investment in yourself through the benefits we've outlined today, and we'll do so furthermore. Then it's about taking the next step, be it if you've already spoken with an enrolment advisor, then getting your application together and making use of that Head Start opportunity that really is a value offering unlike one we've offered previously. That extended career coaching is extremely valuable and would be worth a few £1,000, I would suspect, alone, let alone it's already obviously included in the course fees, but also the access to a vast network of Career Accelerator alumni and a goal setting workshop that will really help you frame your intended outcomes and goals for 2025 and beyond. It's great value to go through that process. It's a very valuable skill to be able to set goals, one that not everybody has, but this Head Start package will certainly enable you to think that way, to develop that muscle memory, because it is something that you continue to do throughout not only the Career Accelerator, but the more you do it in life, be it personally, professionally, or financially, the better off you'll be. So there's great value in that too. Take the next step. I'd like to thank you for attending. I hope to see you next week as well. But more importantly, I hope to welcome support. And as I always say, celebrate your learning and career outcomes through the Career Accelerator. Thank you to Sam in the background, but thank you all for attending. Sorry, I couldn't get to all the questions. Cheerio.